Namaskar. You're listening to Akashwani. Welcome to our March special women's program, Women in the Arena, in our Yuvavani segment. In recent years, more women across India have been stepping into combat sports. Today's program explores the journey of women who choose to compete in these high-intensity arenas where physical endurance, strategy, and courage meet inside the ring. Our first guest is Nabila, a national-level jiu-jitsu athlete who has won multiple national and international medals in jiu-jitsu. She was also selected to represent India at the 2018 Asian Games in Jakarta. Joining her is Ritika, a 5-time undefeated professional kickboxing national champion and a 15-time national champion across kickboxing, boxing, and MMA. She began her combat sports journey in 2014 and later transitioned fully into MMA, training under coach Jitesh Banjan at the ICSA. Welcome to the program, Nabila and Kritika. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what drew you into combat sports like MMA or boxing?
This is a question I get asked very frequently. Honestly, I didn't get into jiu-jitsu thinking I would become a national champion. It started very casually. A colleague told me about it and I just decided to try it on an impulse.
So I was always interested in sports growing up. My school PT sir suggested that I try kickboxing and my mother also encouraged me to learn it. So I joined initially just to try it out, and at that time I never imagined it would become my career. But once I started training and competing, I developed a strong passion for this sport.
When you joined MMA, what was the reaction of your parents? How did you reveal it to them?
So I've been very lucky when it comes to this. My family was very, very supportive. Even at times when I had to choose jiu-jitsu over architecture, which meant I had to quit my job for a brief period of time, my family stood by me even then.
My mom was very supportive. She has encouraged me to learn kickboxing and then also supported me when I choose to transit into MMA, right? My family is still supportive. At the same time, my dad thought it is just for an hobby purpose. He didn't know that I would choose it as a career path.
What kind of physical fitness is required for someone to get into MMA, especially for a girl?
To get into MMA, I don't think you require any sort of physical fitness. It's when you get into it and you can start training for it.
Can you walk us through exactly what happens when a fight begins and what is happening in your mind before the bell rings?
Yeah, interesting question. Just before a fight begins, there's a lot happening in your head. The fight has already played out in your mind many times. So there's a lot of tension and anticipation. But the interesting part is that the moment you actually step onto the mat, the mind almost goes blank. Once you get onto the mat, I rarely remember the first few seconds, sometimes even the first minute of the match. At that point, your muscle memory just takes over and all the training starts working on its own.
Before the fight, there's a lot of adrenaline. Your heart is racing, the crowd is loud, your mind is preparing for the battle, and mainly the energy around you is very intense. But like Nabila said, that the moment you walk towards the ring, your training, your confidence and your belief just takes over. So in that moment, it's just you, your opponent and the game plan. That's it.
Have you faced a lot of injuries and how do you deal with those injuries?
I think if I have to list the number of injuries I have faced, even I would not remember what all injuries I have got. So currently I'm recovering from a back injury. There are multiple injuries I have got, be it shoulder, be it the knee, be it the back. So I think injury is a part of the sport, and I think every athlete should know how to handle injuries.
What has been your most memorable win and what makes that moment special?
So one of my most memorable wins came during a phase early in my career after my first nationals when I was around 15 years old. Even though I belonged to the junior category, I started competing in the senior category, and most of the fighters I faced were much older than me and had years of experience. And there were fights where I faced opponents who had competed internationally, and before the fight people would just come and tell me that, oh, this opponent had competed in Asian championships or competed in the world championships. But every time that happened, instead of getting intimidated, I went into the ring and managed to defeat them, and actually even as a newcomer.
So, without a doubt, it was the Nationals in 2018, which also served as a selection camp for the Asian Games. The preparation for this was intense. I had to cut almost 9 kilos in about 2 weeks and go through a brutal training camp of nearly 5 hours a day, while also managing my work as an architect. When it all came together and I won double gold at Nationals, it also meant I was selected for the Asian Games. It was an incredible moment, one of those feelings that's very hard to be described. Even today, when I think of it, it still brings me so much joy.
So coming to the Asian Games, and you guys like participate internationally, what kind of government support do you guys get, like in MMA and, especially women fighters?
When you're competing at amateur level, you literally have to invest money. For it can be the fighting fees, be it your supplements, everything, like literally everything. But once you step into the professional MMA thing, fighters do get paid. Fighters get, if you are competing in a bigger promotions, the more big promotion you compete in, the more the fight purse is.
What is the ratio of men fighters to women fighters who are participating internationally from India?
So if we talk about a particular promotion, let's talk about MMA promotion. So in a promotion, you will see that if there are maybe 8 fights for men, there will be only 1 or 2 fights for female. And when you talk about the tournaments, like let's talk about kickboxing tournament, let's assume. So there are equal weight categories for men and women. But then the ratio for men and women differs. So for example, if there are 5 weight classes, 5 for women and 5 for men, the number of men will be, let's assume, 100. The females will be 60. 50 or 60. So yeah, it definitely differs.
Is it trending in India now, women joining MMA, women participating in MMA? Do you think a lot of women are joining?
So yeah, so people, if we talk about women, they do hop for trend also, but I think more than competing, they practice for self-defense. More than self-defense also, I feel they practice to get that confidence.
What is a mental block that they have that you need to take care of before they actually get into the arena?
Injuries, they're scared of training with men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For me, it's the mindset of the particular female, if we talk about, because in their mind, it's like, okay, we are starting new. I can't defeat this particular guy, or I can't practice with them because our strength compared to the men is lesser than, compared to men it's less. So it's all it's all their mindset.
You guys said you guys get a lot of facial injuries, you get a lot of physical injuries. When you get those injuries, do you feel conscious about them, conscious about how it might affect you or something like that?
For me, beauty is not just about how you look. As a fighter, I see beauty in strength, your personality, your confidence, the way you carry it. And it's about having the courage to pursue your passion, believing in yourself, and standing up for yourself to chase your dreams.
Mm-hmm. And as women, do people react differently when they discover you're a professional fighter?
Yes. Many people are surprised when they find out that I'm a fighter because it's not something that they usually expect. But once they hear about my journey and my achievements, that surprise often turn into respect and admiration.
What is the something the public often misunderstand about women who fight?
There's a stereotype that women in combat sports are unfeminine, which is not true at all.
Do you think MMA female fighters are as famous as the other sports women?
I think female in MMA are growing way too much compared to the previous years. Like in the past, females in the MMA field were not that famous. They didn't get the right credit or the right name and fame they deserved. But I think in today's generation, female athletes are getting much more support. But if you compare it with other sports like maybe cricket or any other sport, of course it's not reached that level. But I really feel that in the coming years, MMA, like female athletes in MMA, is going to get much more ahead. To talk about, in India, there is this promotion called Matrix Fight Night. It is run by Aisha Shroff and Krishna Shroff. So they both are supporting women in MMA. So they have literally raised the bar so much for the female athletes that if you watch the fight cards, now they are literally encouraging women to fight. So you can see women also fighting in the same fight card as the men.
When you meet other women, what is their reaction to you?
In a general way, there's a lot of respect because it's not something usual, right? Like it's very rare you'll meet a fighter.
Okay. What about finances? How do you take care of your finances?
Throughout my journey, I would say my mom has been a great support for me regards to the finances also, because until you're competing into professional MMA, you don't get paid. Fighters or the athletes, they don't get paid. In amateur series, it's all fighters' money going. It can be the traveling, it can be the stay for that location. If I'm staying in Mumbai, I have to travel to maybe maybe Jammu and Kashmir, UP. I have to take care of my supplements, my nutrition and everything. And in return, we are actually not getting paid. So throughout my journey of kickboxing, my mom has spent a lot of money on it.
So how long would you be able to sustain it like this then?
But in this professional MMA, like I spoke about amateur MMA, right? So in professional MMA, fighters do get paid. In that, I just mentioned MFN. It's just one of the promotions, but it is the promotion in India. Right now, it's at the top. So fighters do get paid. They take care of your traveling, they take care of your stay. And when I say stay or traveling, it's not like they'll just let you go by train or they'll make you sleep in a dormitory or something. They are literally providing services like you travel by flight, you stay in a 5-star hotel, everything is taken care of.
But then that's the fight. What about other times? You obviously need finances to sustain you.
In my case, like I said, in my free time, I do I train people. And also as of now, I'm planning to start up a business. So yeah, we have to do side hustles. People who are fully into the sport, there's no way that until and unless you get sponsorships, there's no way you can sustain this financially. You have to do a side hustle to, sustain in this sport.
So outside the sport, I'm actually a full-time architect. Jiu-Jitsu came much later in my life. So architecture takes care of all my bills.
Throughout the journey of your MMA, what has fighting taught you about yourself that nothing else could? What have you learnt about yourself through this journey?
So more than anything, fighting has taught me that the biggest opponent is often your own doubts and fears. That's something my coach has always taught me. And once you learn how to overcome that, you will realize how strong you really are.
So fighting has taught me that I'm a lot tougher than I thought I was. When you're on the mat, you can't pretend. You're tired, you're under pressure, and sometimes you're losing. In those moments, you really meet yourself.
Thank you, Nabila. Thank you, Ritika, for joining us on this wonderful Yuvavani session. Today we heard how discipline, courage and perseverance shape the life of fighters who step into the ring. For Nabila and Ritika, combat sport is not just about winning a match. It is about discovering strength, resilience and belief in oneself. Perhaps that is the true lesson of the arena. When we face our fears, we often discover who we really are. To remind you, Yuvavani, our monthly youth program, airs every 4th Thursday on Akashvani. And this was Yuvavani's special March edition.
Thank you.